So like when I got laid out from Rogers, I was like, I'm gonna go full time being a photographer, right? And I would always meet with people. Let's say I met with 10 people, I would probably book 3 out of the 10, right? And it wasn't like my stuff was bad. I think my stuff was pretty good, but it was because I didn't have a psychology of marketing. I didn't have a psychology of how to sell, right? And then I took this course by a guy named Derek Halpern. Well, I didn't took it. I stole it online. I did the torrent, but like I did that whole course, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do every piece of homework in this course. And I read the module like 0, and I was like running in my place. I don't forget this. And I was like, holy shit. He blew my mind in the first like video. And I'm like, this is gonna work. This is definitely gonna work. And
what was the tip?
The tip was it was just like psychology of like marketing to people. So they would have like he had like a field. And let's say your field is like this big, and you have a line, a yes line where people will buy from you. So basically what he said was you would have people like little dots really close to the yes line. And these few people might be friends of friends, referrals, or acquaintances, right? The point is to get people that are over here, push them closer to the yes line with his like system. And I was like, holy shit. So he broke down parts of his system in this module, like these little pieces that you need to hit when you're talking to people to get them to buy your product and trust you. And I was like, oh shit, no, this is gonna work. Because like, I remember being in like buying a car and having the car salesman kind of hit these things years when I bought a car. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, no, like this is not bullshit. This is gonna work. And I did every piece of homework like I was saying. And then from there, I started to rebrand my photography stuff, like with the word, not with like Becky's like artwork, with the word that I would tell people like what I do. And I went from booking 3 out of 10 to like 9 out of 10. And I think the next year I had made like, I think almost like $90,000 in photography.
Wow.
Yeah.
More than I was making at Rogers.
That model also works in sales too. So Jordan Belfort, he wrote a book called
That's the Wolf of Wall Street
Wolf
guy.
of Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
He wrote a book called The Way of the Wolf. And he has in sales, like everybody who comes in a sales conversation wants to be sold to.
Right.
And what you have to do is you have to move, he calls it the certainty scale. So if I get you to like a 6, a 7, it's like I have to ask myself, like, through this sequential process, where on the certainty scale are they not needing, they need more assurance on? So there's like stuff on trust, there's stuff on product, like where on the certainty scale on product are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah.
Right? So he can feel these things out. And sometimes he calls this part, sometimes your conversation is going to Uranus, right? Meaning like if you are, it's called a straight line method. And in the straight line method, he has all these different categories. And in each category, it's like a scale of like 1 to 10.
Yeah.
So you got to move through this straight line method of all these different things to get to a yes, because everybody's going to say yes to a sale once you hit all these certain things.
Yeah.
So when you don't get a sale, you're probably missing out on one of these things.
Yeah.
And he, like everyone who uses straight line, that's how every person in Wolf of Wall Street, he took an average Joe from high school, from college, with no background, and he taught them the straight line method to sell these stocks, and it worked. That's how everyone got rich.
Yeah, like these frameworks, like they legit do work.
The crazy work.
The first thing that I remember that was in this course, he broke down different types of people. So there's people who are hesitant, people who are feel like they don't have enough money, people who feel like this won't work for them. There's different like archetypes of people. And when you're going through your journey of how to sell, this journey actually answers all of their fears by the time you get to the end of it. So let's say you're someone who's hesitant, as from the beginning to end, you answer and you clear all their thoughts and all their fears. So at the end, they're like, well, you are the guy. You know, I don't have to go anywhere else. I've had multiple people in my photography meetings would say, sit down and be like, this is the best presentation I've had. And I've seen like 4 photographers. this is hands down the best photography meeting I've had. It's because like I kind of like mind fucked them through this psychology. The work hasn't changed because the work has been the same. It's just presented in a way where they're like, why would I go anywhere else?
100%.
Yeah.
No, that's big.
Sales is all about psychology.
It's a lot of
It's all
psychology.
psychology, how you show up to the sale, how you project. This is what we're talking about on the phone and sales. It's like they can feel your energy through the phone. They can know when you're smiling. And Jordan talks a lot about it in his book too. So if you want to check it out.
I had a few people from Shopify, you know, they always email you like, hey, new products, like, you know, sign up for this. And this one girl was like, hey, you're doing really well with this product. We want to increase you to like our gold package, which will cost me more money. And I was like, okay, well, what is in it? She's like, first thing she started off with was how much it would cost. And I was like, okay. I read the whole email, and there was nothing about like what it would benefit me with. Nothing that I'm going to use and it's going to make my business better. And I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm not doing this. Like, I have no time for this. And she was like, why? I'm like, I don't know what you're selling me. I don't see any value. There's nothing here that you said. And I was being nice. I was like, there's nothing here that you said that makes me want to be like, okay, I'll give you more money. Because there's like her whole presentation was just like a bust, like it was a flop. There was nothing that spoke to me. You want my money? I'm selfish. I don't want to give it away. What is going to make me want to do that? Tell me. Are you going to give me X amount more sales, right? Are you going to, you know, help my business out X amount more times for this much more dollars? There was none of that. And I was like, I don't have time for this. It's Q4. I'm busy. Like, you know what I mean? I'll talk to you later.
Lost a sale right there.
Yeah. So one thing I learned from that whole process was like, when you sit to meet with somebody, you have 45 minutes to an hour, because at the beginning of the meeting, that's when they're most excited, and that's when they're most like interested in what you have to say. Towards the end, the energy dies. You don't want to go longer than an hour. You want to get them in, get them out, you close it, and be out. And one thing I learned too, what I used to do, which is like really interesting, is that I would hand them their prices of what the photography would cost, and I would sit there and I would wait, you know what I mean? And I was like, if you have any questions, just let me know. And I was like, okay, they're not really talking in front of me. After like the third or fourth client, I was like, you know what, let me leave the room. And I remember when my family member bought a car.
This is huge.
The photographer, the car salesman left when he was like, think about it. And I was like, let me try that. And I came back in the room with the photography and this photography client, and they had a lot of questions. And I was like, okay, you got to give people time to talk in private so they can make their decision if they want to go with you or not. Because the other way, I would sit with them and they'll be like, okay, well, like, you know, we'll let you know. This way, when I left, they were discussing with each other, and then they would usually book on the spot because they were like, you know, why are we going to go anywhere else?
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, the psychology of sales.
Even in when I was working at Good Life Fitness, there's like two ways we're supposed to sell. So you have like the membership, then you have the personal training. So what I would do is like when I'm selling the membership is I would present the price. I'll present the prices. There's like 3 tiers to psychology of pricing. There's like, okay, this is the highest one. We know we're not gonna present. So you present that one first.
Right.
Then you present like the lowest one, then you present like the middle one last, right? And that's where you want them to do. So I'd go say, hey, this is the pricing. You present it. Psychologically, you don't say anything at all. Like when you present the price, shut up.
Right.
Let them think it over, whatever. They think it over. I get up and I go say, I'm getting another binder.
Right.
I'll be right back. So I take 5 minutes, leave them, now they're marinating the price.
Right.
Come back, like, hey, so what do you think?
Yeah.
And then now they've thought it over. There's no pressure to a decision
you weren't there. Yeah.
And they end up choosing the last price I ended up choosing.
Of course.
Worked 100% all the time, man.
Yeah.
Such a gem.
It's just like our minds are like hardwired to do certain things.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting that like what you said to me is exactly what I was doing. And I don't know if you took a course, but like
I did a lot
it's the
of
same
sales
thing,
training,
right?
Yeah.